price of XRP would rocket, and here we are. We've gotten multiple new all-time highs for the price of XRP against the dollar, finally after the better part of a decade. Very happy to see it, but those days when you saw those really big bursts, and we've had a number of them over the last year, well ever since the election anyway, I didn't know which days those were going to be. I had no idea. That's why my strategy is to just have exposure. I don't know when the market's going to do the thing, but it's a matter-of-fact statement that this entire asset class moves in tandem. It is not the fundamentals, it's not the news ultimately that is driving the price of XRP upward, not when you're talking about the euphoric stages of a rally. So I certainly acknowledge that fundamentals matter. My investment thesis at its core is that utility matters and will win the day. The fact that XRP has some of the strongest fundamentals in the entire crypto space, it's very evident. And that's the reason that XRP is number 3 in market cap. It's the reason that XRP has always been in the top 10 coins by market cap for its entire existence. If not for the fundamentals and the technical attributes, no, that wouldn't be the case. The market absolutely is differentiating from coin to coin. But still, when XRP really has those ridiculous price rockets to the upside, when that happens, that's not because of utility. That's not a flip the switch moment. That's not some sort of narrative. The reason that there's an opportunity for that to happen is because of the strong fundamentals. But then when you finally have those huge rockets in price, that's because we're in moments of euphoria in the market. That's it. So the strong fundamentals make it possible for people to come across the coin when the moment is ripe for that type of ridiculous euphoric moment where everybody's just like, give me, take my money, that whole thing. So that is what's next. So you might be wondering what's going to trigger that. Well, I want to talk a little bit about that and also this headline. Cointelegraph. Cointelegraph been crapping all over XRP for a decade and they're not done. Here it is. Betting on XRP's 2017 style gains could be extremely risky in 2025. Oh, shiver me timbers. But before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. All right, let's kick things off by sharing this post from chart analyst Dom, and he's talking a little bit about Bitcoin right here. And he says, this rally seems to stall from pure buyer exhaustion, not enough aggressive pressure. Order books have been very clear both ways. Little money can make moves from a passive resistance point. So simply, not enough buyers interested here just yet. What will entice them? Ah, yes, indeed, what will entice them? Because it's true, and a lot of analysts that I follow have said just as much, at least in the short term. Not 100% sure, not perfect clarity on whether the market will go up or down. Though big picture, which is what matters way more, big picture, higher time frame, yes, market's going to go up. I don't follow any analysts currently that think that the top is in and that's that for the entire market. Definitely not. Zero, right? So what's going to make it go? Well, there are a couple noteworthy news items from the last couple days. Here's one from Wednesday. This is from Bloomberg. This piece is titled, U.S. Job Openings Fell in July to Lowest Level in Nearly a Year. And here's the key takeaway. I don't need to read the article. Just this is the key takeaway. U.S. job openings fell in July to the lowest in 10 months, with available positions decreasing to 7.18 million from 7.36 million in June. Okay, so not so great jobs numbers, but what the expectation here is that this data would cause the Fed to decrease interest rates to spur the economy. So how come upon this news coming out, we didn't see anything buck wild happening in crypto? And then you got this the next day. If it loads, there it is. Okay, this is from Reuters. So this is Thursday, September 4th. U.S. jobless claims rise, private payrolls growth slow. So you got two back-to-back stories from one day to the next indicating the same thing. Look at this. Weekly jobless claims increase 8,000 to 237,000. So, given that's bad, you have a softening labor market. You would expect the Fed would go ahead and reduce rates, which is what the market wants. So why aren't we seeing that response? Well, I have an answer. Do you remember this? It's like some people seem to have forgotten about this. Look at this headline from Reuters. This is from August 22nd this year. Powell fires up markets, but some investors see reason for caution. What was discussed here? What was discussed here is Jerome Powell's speech that was given in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, during which he indicated that, not too subtly, that looks, and I'm paraphrasing, not that he literally worded it like this, but he made it pretty damn clear that the Fed is going to be reducing interest rates, at least to some degree, in September. So then it's a question of to what degree, and are there going to be subsequent cuts, maybe 2 or 3 cuts total, perhaps from one FOMC meeting to the next, right? And so when that happened, what did we see? Well, on that news, because that's when the market didn't know until this event happened. Well, when that happened, what did you see? You saw a new all-time high for the S&P 500, a new all-time high for the NASDAQ 100, a new all-time high for the Dow Jones Industrial Average, and you saw the Russell 2000 small cap stocks. That went up by almost 4% in one single day. That's gigantic. Absolutely huge. So why aren't we seeing that now? Why aren't we seeing, we got more news indicating that, yeah, they should be put, well, because it's already baked into the cake, my friends. The market's already expecting this. It's like that scene from Super Troopers, and it's something to the effect of, officer, you can't pull over any further. He's already pulled over. Something to that effect. You know what the thing I'm talking about? It's like, it's already been done. It's baked into the cake, my friends. And to drive that point home even further, take a look at Polymarket. Fed decision in December. What are people betting on here? Well, 87% are betting on the Fed implementing a 25 basis points decrease in the federal funds rate. So interest rates go down 0.25%. 6% are betting on a decrease of 50 basis points, which is 0.5%. So if you combine that, that's a total of 93% who are engaged in this bet. 93% believe that there is going to be a reduction in the federal funds rate to some degree. Interest rates go down, my friends. So it's clearly already baked into the cake. And then what's going to actually set this off? Well, even though that's what people believe, it's not certain yet. I mean, you could argue that this would be a sell the news event if you get that. I mean, okay, maybe. Or the market actually just wants to see it happen, and then things will heat up. But when the Jackson Hole speech happened, August 22nd, crypto went wild too. So, and everything does ultimately move in tandem if you just zoom out enough here. So it's coming. This could be the thing that people are waiting for. Either way, look, as far as I'm concerned, it's just a matter of time. And it's a matter of fact statement also that XRP and the rest of the crypto asset class, Bitcoin, you name it, it follows global M2, which has been trending up. And there's good reason on top of that to believe that the trend in the increase in global M2 is just going to increase, perhaps even exponentially. Now take a look at this chart, and this one's definitely fascinating. This is others denominated in NVIDIA. Others is a chart in and of itself, which highlights the top 125 coins by market cap, excluding the top 10 coins by market cap. So XRP is not in there. And so this is others denominated in NVIDIA stock. Now, I understand, obviously, there aren't open markets for people to trade others and then you get NVIDIA. Yeah, that's like not even a coherent thought. But it's denominating the value of others in NVIDIA. That is what this chart shows. Just like if you look at an XRP USD chart, it's XRP denominated in United States dollars. That's what that means. So you can see the value of one against the other. That's the purpose of this. And there is usefulness here. In fact, I'm going to show you XRP price against NVIDIA in a second, but take a look at this. This is from chart analyst Melius. So he shared this chart going back about a decade, and he wrote, oh boy, you want to own some alts. Why is he saying that? Well, take a look right here. You can see that for the leading up to last market cycle, the value of others against NVIDIA, it just plummeted. Look at how it trended down over time. But then it rocketed, didn't it? It rocketed upward and gained value. And then it hit a peak in 2021. Of course, that's when we had alt season. And then it just slumped down for the next several years. And here we are. What do you think is next? See, this is why I keep telling you, markets find bottoms, period. Markets always find bottoms. Unless you find an asset that, something catastrophic happened, maybe you find a hole in the code of a cryptocurrency, it's not salvageable, okay, then it runs to zero, okay. Or if it's a stock, okay, there's very fundamental problems, it's going down, but it's not just some sort of cyclical thing, there's actually something fundamental about this company at its core, it's going to zero. Maybe it's an Enron type thing. Who knows? It could be a scam thing, whatever. Those exist, but unless you can show something like that, what you're actually looking at, almost certainly, is a situation, if the price has gone down, where it's just valued low against the other things, because sometimes things become undervalued. When that happens, it's a good idea to spot that, because it won't stay undervalued forever. And obviously, NVIDIA, kind of a major stock if you hadn't heard, so it's interesting to compare it as that. And so you can do that with XRP too. And interestingly, at various points last year before XRP rocketed, I did show the XRP in NVIDIA chart, so that this trading pair. And so here's the updated version of it. This is XRP denominated in NVIDIA. And you can see this is just going back to, I guess 23, yeah, it's just going back a little over 2 years. And you can see it had been trending down forever, though. So it trended down. And as I explained, and by the way, in 2017, and this is why I was highlighting this, in 2017, if you looked at the XRP NVIDIA pair, when XRP rocketed against the dollar, it's the same time it rocketed against NVIDIA. So it's just another way of looking at things, because every asset that's tradable on the planet, it's just like it's all part of the web. It's all part of what I mean by that. It's everything is intertwined. Everything that you can buy and sell in financial markets, there's always considerations of another thing. Somebody buying something and somebody selling something to buy something else. That always happens here, and that's the reason that you can spot stuff like this. So it is interesting to look at these various trading pairs. But in 2017, when it rocketed, it's the same time that it rocketed against the dollar. And so here we had that happen again. So I argued that leading up to this is like, guys, don't be surprised if the XRP NVIDIA pair starts rocketing at the same time XRP USD does. And wouldn't you know it, that's exactly what the hell happened. Look at November. This is the XRP NVDA pair. Damn, look at that. Straight rocket upward, right? That's the same time that XRP was gaining in value against the dollar. It's the same damn thing. So what Malleus is showing you, looking at this chart, is the entire the entire altcoin class. I mean, it's the top 125 coins, excluding the top 10, but it's a good barometer. That thing is freaking primed. That is what they're showing you. And even though XRP isn't included in the others chart, fine. When there's alt season, there's alt season. In fact, the money flows in to Ethereum and large caps, including XRP first, and then it flows into these things. So I'm showing you this is primed, but that does mean ultimately XRP is going to go too. It could not be more obvious. So you're going to have it happen yet again. That is a virtual certainty. And then we have this from Chart Analyst Zoom. Now, I shared this about a week ago, and I explained at the time that this is the only chart analyst I follow that is sharing this perspective until now. Now I have a second analyst that is sharing this perspective. So let me explain what this is real quick. And if they happen to be correct, credit where it is due. I'm not completely sold on this concept, but if they could be right. I'm not a chart guy myself. I'm it would be a little bit different than what had happened in previous cycles. That's a primary reason that I'm a little skeptical here. But Chart Analyst Zoom on August 27th this year wrote, XRP consolidated in a similar manner as the 2017 consolidation. And so it'll be easier to see what I'm talking about if you're looking at your screen. But this part that he circled right here where I'm moving my mouse, he's saying that in terms of structure is equivalent to this part, this circle back in 2017 where I'm now moving my mouse. He's saying that's effectively the same thing. So what would be different? Well, certainly the time frame. If this is just consolidation and it's structurally the same, this is much longer consolidation here. Much longer consolidation, because you can see there was this, normally where I'm moving my mouse right now in 2017, I consider this whole burst, this whole move up, to be the first big move. And then right here where I'm moving my mouse, I consider that to be the second big burst. And that's the way that most people articulate it. Now, you can say that this was a burst, and then it moved sideways for a short period of time, and then this was another burst. But normally it's not articulated that way. That's kind of the argument that he's making right here. There was a move up, went sideways a little bit, and then you had another big jump. Okay, well, here's why this is relevant. If that's the same thing playing out, then you've got not one more leg up, but two massive legs up for XRP. That's why this matters. If he's right, that means XRP goes way freaking higher than I'm thinking it's going to go. If he's right. Way high. I don't know what that means, but it would be very substantial. So, because think about it. So if we're just getting and again, it'd be easier if you're just looking at the screen. I know not everybody looks at the screen when they're listening to the videos. Like I do that with podcasts and stuff too. But this part right here where I'm moving my mouse, if that's the second one, well, okay, so that's what would be next here. So how high is that going to put you? It's going to put you into double-digit territory. XRP over $10, $12. And then what? We consolidate yet again? We're going to have And then we burst again after that. We're going to consolidate for like over half a year again. Like, what does that even mean? Now, that would be interesting though, because there are a handful of analysts I follow. It is a minority of analysts, but they're very reputable analysts who are arguing that this thing's going to spill into 2026, this bull market, perhaps into the end of Q2 of next year. So almost a whole year from now, it could peak. So if they're right about that, this doesn't sound as crazy. But I'm talking about like Tech Dev and Raoul Pal. These are not fly-by-night individuals. They hold minority opinions, at least out of the analysts that I follow. But they do think that it's going to spill into 2026. But they have such great track records. I'm taking it. I'm listening to them. I'm taking it seriously. I don't know if they're right, but I'm just saying if they're right, and if chart analyst Zoom here is right, oh my God, this goes way higher, way higher. And so, again, highlighted that a week ago. I've got another analyst that is effectively arguing the same thing. There are two now. This is interesting. This is chart analyst Crypto Wizard, and he shared this with his 108,000 followers on X. It's an XRP USD chart. And he said, buying time. Strip it back to basics, and you can see XRP is identical to 2017's bull run structure. The longer it consolidates, the bigger the explosion. And so look at what he's comparing here. He's comparing the last half a year that we've gone through of consolidation, I guess a little bit more than that. I mean, XRP did jump in July, but if you're considering that the consolidation, he's arguing that's conceptually similar to what happened in the first half of 2017. So then you got a big jump, then you moved sideways for half a year, then you got what I characterize as the second big pump. So that's what I'm saying, guys. If we're going to get not just one pump, but two pumps, and this thing actually goes into like, whether it's the first or second quarter of 2026, well, hot damn hallelujah, because you're looking at an absurd price of XRP. That would be the realm, if they're right, where, those higher, like to me, what I subjectively would say would be higher in terms of XRP price predictions seem less crazy, because it would probably also mean that there's way more money flowing into Bitcoin too. So if you're talking about $30, $40 XRP, which I'm not telling you I'm sold on that. I am skeptical of it getting, up into that range. I don't think it's impossible. I am not counting on that. It would seem a lot more plausible if this thing's going to carry on for the better part of the next year, and if Bitcoin's going to go way higher, then it sounds a lot less crazy. That's all I'm saying right here. But anyway, he posted this just yesterday. So this jumped out at me. I'm like, there are two now. Because every other analyst I follow, they will say, if you have to look at the screen again to easily understand what I'm talking about, but this whole thing right here where I move my mouse, the cursor, that would be one big pump, move sideways half a year, and then that's the second big pump. Every other analyst that I follow, when they speak about this, that's the way that they speak. There's one pump, sideways about half a year, then second pump. And that's the way I've always characterized it too, because it's just easy to understand. I mean, yeah, in between, there's little ups and downs, even as you got these big green candles right here. And these are 1 week candles. There's still ups and downs during the week. You just can't see them when it's shown this way. You can get more granular and see it if you really zoom in. So characterizing it as one pump, move sideways, then a second pump, that's totally fair. They're just saying something a little bit different here. And that jumps out at me. But then we have this. Betting on XRP's 2017 style gains could be extremely risky in 2025. Oh, Cointelegraph, well, thank you. Tell me more about that and scare the hell out of it. Because that's all they've been trying to do for the last decade just about. They will, especially now, they will write positive articles about XRP, but I feel like maybe a big part of the reason for that is that they don't want to continue to get egg on their face, because XRP has been performing. It's the number one performing coin out of the top 100 since the election in November. So they still sprinkle their FUD in throughout, their hate and their FUD in, from time to time. But they'll still write some positives. So should we really be scared? Extremely risky in 2025. Is that right? I mean, even though we know history rhymes with itself, it's not gonna this time. Oh my God. Well, I will say this. In terms of percentage, which is not exactly what they're getting at in this article, in terms of percentage, no, you're not going to get the same percentage gains this cycle for XRP that you got in 2017 going into 2018. Duh. I shouldn't have to say that even. That's not controversial. Unless you're brand new to crypto, and then yes, you need an explanation as to why. Which in a nutshell is because there was way less money in XRP in 2017 compared to now, so it took way less money flowing in to get it to double or triple or quadruple. But now that there's a lot more money in XRP, it's a much bigger task just to get XRP to double, triple, quadruple, so on and so forth. Now, that said, in the scheme of things, I still argue there's not that much money in XRP, which is why there's opportunity. I'm just saying compared to 2017, there's way more money in XRP. So yeah, ROI percentage-wise, of course it's going to be lower than 2017. That said, history does rhyme with itself. And so look at what they wrote here. Where did I want to highlight here? Oh yeah, right here. I think this is the one I wanted. Look at this bullet point. The XRP BTC pair remains 90% below its 2017 peak and is stuck in a distribution zone. Okay, folks. This is the same bullshit that was being spewed a year ago before XRP rocketed in price. As I said at the time, looking at the XRP BTC pair, markets find bottoms. And the XRP BTC pair, it sure as hell found a bottom there, didn't it? It rocketed in November, if you look at the XRP BTC pair. Now, yeah, it's still below the all-time high by a lot. They said here 90% below its 2017 peak. I'll just take them at their word that that's the correct percentage. It's probably about that. But you see, that represents opportunity. You damn idiot sticks. Not you guys listening, but them. Like, these freaking idiot sticks. Like, all these people said XRP is bad. See, it doesn't make sense. It's a bad investment because it's priced low against Bitcoin. Yeah, until suddenly it wasn't, because markets find bottoms. You damn fools. You stupid, stupid fools. Markets find bottoms. Like I said, unless there's some sort of hole in the code, our fundamentals are actually trash now, but fundamentals only got stronger, and XRP got legal clarity. Everything got better. So it never made any damn sense. Of course XRP wasn't going to zero against Bitcoin. Of course it wasn't. It's just not done, just because it hasn't gone all the way yet. Wait until the cycle's over. XRP moves in tandem with the rest of the market. Duh. It could not be more obvious. So I read this, and it's like, come on. You're not... This is a disservice to anybody that's reading this who doesn't know any better. It's 90% below... Oh, well, gosh, if it's that bad, I shouldn't buy it. Blah, 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 blah. No, that's not how this works, you damn fool. That is not how this works. And XRP has already hit all-time highs against the dollar. We're just waiting for XRP BTC to catch up. We haven't had an all-time high for XRP BTC since the first half of 2017. Not the second half, since the first half of 2017, when it had its first big leg up. That was the time when XRP had its all-time high against BTC. We haven't seen another... See, so what I'm arguing is that represents opportunity that's yet to come. And so either we're going to hit a new all-time high for XRP BTC, or we're going to get pretty damn close, and it's going to be so much in terms of what that means for XRP USD. It's going to be so high, it's not even going to matter. That's what's next year. And so when you see people spouting stuff like this, it's mostly a bunch of people that suffer from XRP derangement syndrome. So I just roll your eyes at it, because that's the appropriate response. This is stupid. To think that this isn't going to happen, why? The entire asset class moves in tandem. Unless there's a black swan event and everything falls apart, this does not make sense. To think that XRP's never going to hit a new all-time high against Bitcoin, that was it in 2017, that's it, and everything's way better for XRP now, and nothing's particularly gotten better for Bitcoin from a fundamental perspective, just the way it's being treated,